Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 183 of Build Your Stash and Craft. We are back to crafting with our $5 a week budget, so that's kind of exciting for me. I got to go shopping. And so what we bought for this week is a book and some things to decorate it with. So we're going to take the cover off, but don't forget when you take the cover off that you can use, this is really nice paper to use for different things, so don't forget to keep that and you can use it for something else. So we just have our book here, and what we are going to make today is we are going to make a storage Rolodex. And I have one of these in my art room, and I use it to stick when I find quotes that I like, and I write them down, and I don't have time to go stick them in my quote book. I just go ahead and I just set them in my Rolodex. I use it to just keep all sorts of things, different things I want to keep track of. I use it when I make different ideas and I want to remember those ideas. I just stick them in here so then I can go back and I can look and say, oh yeah, I want to try and make those or whatever. So it's very easy to do. All you're going to do is you're just going to start, it doesn't matter if you start from the back or the front, and you're just going to take 2 pages at a time and you're just going to fold them in half right to the middle. Line them up nicely. Take your time when you do this. And you want to get them all to about the same spot in the middle. If you want to tuck them way down inside, then make sure that you do them all that way. For me, it's just easier to line it up right about to the edge of the next page and then just give it a nice press. And we're just going to do that 2 pages all the way through. And that is what is going to make our Rolodex. Now, just give them a good press, but you don't have to use your bone folder or anything like that. Just hand press them. Because what I did was when I made my very first one, I pressed it really hard, and then I folded it, I closed it up and put a heavy book on it and let it sit for a while. And what happened was my pages got so squished that instead of flaring out the way that we want them to flare out all the way around like this, I squished it so that they wouldn't flare out that much. And so my book sits on my desk like this, and it, it fans out like this, but it will only fan out that far. When I do this, it won't fan out that far because everything is so squished together. So let them be a little bit, they don't have to be super squished. Now, the thing is that I do like mine sitting on my desk like this because it sits on my desk and then it sits up against the back wall, so I don't have to have as much room. So we'll go through, if you want it to be like this, then we'll just squish it extra far and we'll just have it sitting like this. If you want it to Rolodex on your desk like this all the way out, and you want this to fan out all the way around, then we definitely don't want to push them too hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and take these 2 pages at a time and fold the whole thing up, and then I will be back and we'll do the next step. Okay, I am back and I have all of my pages folded in half. I did not fold the first cover sheet, and that's kind of glued to the very first page. So, I did fold the first page and the last page, but this, I think they call it fly paper. I did not fold that in. That's a different kind of paper. It's heavier, and it's as large as the side of our book. And so what we're going to do now that we've got this all done, and it's not 100% perfect, don't expect it to be. There's a few that are this way and that way. And what I did was I folded half of the book this way, and then I turned it around and folded the other half of the book this way. Just because this stack was getting so tall, it was kind of like in my way, and I thought it would be easier to turn it around. Now, I did have all of the regular pages that I had to hold up as I folded them, but that seemed to work really well. So you can do it, you can do it however whatever's most comfortable for you. And then, so the next thing we're going to do is we have our fly papers, and instead of wasting them, we're going to make a little pocket so that we have a little pocket to store other things in that we may want to not have right out you know, like in the open. So I'm just going to kind of find about where the middle is and use our circle punch to just make a little half punch there. And I'm going to do that on both sides. And just hopefully find about the middle and give it a punch. Okay, so now we have that done. And then what I'm going to do is, this is just a piece of our coffee dyed paper. It's, you know, 8.5 by 11 or whatever regular paper. I cut it to, I just went ahead, stuck it up next to the book, next to the fly paper, put a little mark on it and cut it across so that it's as tall as this piece of fly paper. That sounds funny. Okay, so see, that's going to fit in there just like that without sticking out. Then what I'm going to do is, it doesn't have to be any particular size. It needs to be as tall as your paper there. But then I am just going to, I need 4 pieces, so I'm just going to cut it in half, and then cut the 2 halves in half, or rip them in half, I guess I should say. And again, it doesn't have to be any specific size. This is 8.5 inches wide, so each of these are 2, what? 2 1/4? No, 2 1/8. So these are all 2 1/8 inches wide by the height of my paper. And you know, that height is going to be different depending on however big your book is. And again, like I said, even this measurement of 2 1/8 does not, it is not necessary. You don't have to have it that way. Did I just rip? Oh, I just ripped that one the wrong way. That one's the right way. That one is the wrong way. All right, where is the rest of my paper? Here's a piece. Okay, so I'm going to say that the paper is that big right there. And when you measure, don't measure from the top of your fly paper to the page, because normally the first page is glued a little bit to that, so it will be larger between this first flag page or whatever it is and the cover. That will be a little bit longer. I just want to make sure that, yep, that's the right height. So let's try this again, because I do want it to be the right size. If that was all the paper I had, I could use those pieces, but I'd have a little gap, and I don't want a gap. All right, so is this the one that's the right height? Yes, it is. So let's do that again. Let's fold it in half, or cut it in half, rip it in half. Now let's make sure that we have the right height. Definitely this way. This is my height right here. So I'm going to rip it in half like that. Okay, now we have 4 pieces, 2 for the front and 2 for the back. And what we're going to do with those is we are going to accordion them to make that pocket an accordion pocket, because being super flat, if we were to just glue both edges, that would be really, I mean, if you put something in there, especially if it went all to the bottom, you would not get it out. Well, with a pair of tweezers you might, but this will make it a whole lot easier putting things in and out. Then what we're going to do is just fold them all in half. We'll do 2, we'll just do all of them. Alrighty, and then when you get them folded in half, then you are going to take one side and fold it up, fold the open edge up to the fold, so that we're going to make an accordion. Turn it over, that open edge, fold it up to the fold, just like that. And we're going to do that with all 4 of them. So when you're done, it kind of looks like an M or a W. So it looks like that. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we are going to glue these to the back cover and to our paper. Now you have to decide which way do you want it open. If you glue this down and you glue this down, it will open like that. If you put the mountain towards the middle, if you put the mountain towards the outside, this will be glued to your book and this will be glued to your book, and it will only open from here to here because these two will be solid. So you'll have that much of an opening if you glue the mountain to the outside. If you glue the mountain to the inside, it'll be glued here and here, so you will have that much of an opening. So you want your mountain to be towards the inside or the middle of your M, however you want to call that. And then you just take your glue, remembering that you want the mountain to the middle, because when you're gluing it, you're moving it around, and so don't forget to turn it the way you want it. I'm going to just kind of spread that glue out a little bit because it doesn't need to be super thick and heavy like that. I'd rather have it more spread around. So there's my mountain. I want that to the middle. And I'm just going to line this up at the bottom of my page. Should have a wet paper towel or something to wipe your hands on. That would be good. And there we go. So now that one is in, and this is what it looks like. So we'll do the same thing with the other one. And then I will stop it here and I will do the other side because it's going to be done exactly the same way. But I do want to get one whole pocket done. Okay, now I have to find my mountain. There's my mountain. I want that to go towards the inside. And I'm just going to slide it. Just slide it down in there. Keeping it as even as you can with the edge of your paper. But if it's not perfectly even with the edge of your paper, it's not that big of a deal. I would rather have it a little bit inside than sticking out, but they work out however they work out as far as I'm concerned. So I have that in there. And so I glued it to that page, whatever that is, and to the cover. And so now this is exactly what our pocket looks like. Now the one thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to leave this open for a little bit to let that glue dry. Get it all well pressed so that you know it's making good contact. And then either put parchment paper in there so it doesn't stick together, or just prop it open and let it open, let it dry for a little while, and then you can go ahead and, just let it press back down and you won't have to worry about it. So I'm going to let this dry for a second. I'm going to do the other side and then I'll be back, and the last thing to do is just kind of decorate it up a little bit. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, I am back, and both of our pockets are pretty well dried, and so we've got those, and I'm just going to give those a good press to flatten them down. And then I'm not sure what happened to our stencils. Well, actually, I'm not sure what happened to my stencils that we got for this series, but if you have stencils, they would work really nice for this because, you've got a real flat surface, and using the stencil would really give you a nice background. So we're just going to have to use like our stamps, and then I wanted to make some punchinella. And so what I did was I cut just a piece of our cardstock and used the paper punch. And basically what I did was I just went ahead and made my piece of paper small enough that I could reach all the way towards the center to get my holes punched in there. And you can do it, this is very random. You can do it, like in a line and then between the line, like the punchinella is that you get from the store. But so I had to cut a small piece of paper. But the thing is that I don't want to just keep doing this little inside bit, but I don't want to get my sponge like going over the edge and making a line. So what I did was I just took another piece of cardstock, and I just drew around this and then took my scissors and cut that hole out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this into here, because that way if I get off the edge, I can use all of those holes. And if I get off the edge, I'm not going to go onto my paper. And so that way we've got a stencil that's not, like I said, these ones that I punched to the edge, I could be very careful to put my sponge on there and get it right in the right spot. But this will just be easier. And I also couldn't. Papa's sleeping right now, and my Build Your Stash stuff is at his house. So I have to go in there with a flashlight and be very, very quiet so I don't wake him up. And I couldn't find my masking tape, so I'm just using masking tape out of my art room. But we do have masking tape in our stash, so I think that's okay. And I am just going to grab the edge of that part that we punched out, because I don't want to cover my holes up. I just want to get the edge of that. And you could also make a stencil out of cardboard if you want to. I like the cardstock because it's so thin. You get a little bit of a better image. The thicker whatever the product is that you've got your stencil on, the harder it is to get right to the edges of it, because your sponge doesn't really push. It pushes through, but it only kind of pushes through in the middle if you have like a piece of heavy cardboard or something. So there we go. I've got that like that. And then because this is big masking tape, I'm just gonna fold it over because it's too big to... I really don't like those corners. That's way too thick. Let me fold this piece over. Yeah, I really don't like how, because I don't want that thickness behind it. Of course, I could do that side up. Yeah, I could make that my upside, and then it won't matter how thick it is because the other side's flat, so we'll just go ahead and do that. So fold that over. And this one is a little bit too, it's going to cover my holes. I'm just going to cut some of that off. And you can make it as pretty as you want to. And I kind of didn't really get a good hold on that side, so I'm going to grab it there where there's not a hole. I'm going to put another little piece right here where there's not a hole, just to hold that side pretty good. And you do really want to cover up where the two pieces come together, because if you don't, what's going to happen is your ink will go through and you'll have a little line there where your ink went through. So we're going to try that, because Punchinella is one of my favorite backgrounds, and I really want to use that. So I'm going to take out a couple of turquoises here, and maybe even the green and the brown. And what I'm looking at is I have these stickers that I bought for it, and they have blues and a little bit of green, and I think they'll look okay with the browns. And then I have this that has all of the brown colors, and then I bought these, so I thought those colors will look nice with all of these. Maybe not the green, maybe just the turquoises and the brown. But, and then, let's see, I think I'm going to, let's start with the lightest color, because I'm going to go from one to another. It will eventually dry, but being that I'm not going to be waiting for it to dry, I'll grab out some of these. since I'm not going to wait for it to dry, I don't want the color that's on the cardstock to, I don't want to pick up the brown with my blue color. Let's put it that way. I'm just going to put a little bit of blue there. Oh, see, that looks really nice. That looks just like Punchinella. And you can go as far as you want underneath. You know, you just want to remember that you're not necessarily going to see that. There we go. Maybe just a little bit more right over here. And actually, when you're doing your stencils like this that you're doing very randomly, if you do it kind of in circles, you won't wind up with a harsh line. Like if you went right down in the middle of a circle, you might wind up with a real harsh line there. Like, you might not be able to see here, because I just went, that's where I first put my little thing down, and it made a harsh line. So let's do a little bit on this side too. And I'm not going to decorate this up super fancy. You know, you can decorate yours however fancy you want to, because they're just, you know, some people, that's their favorite part. For me, that's the hardest part. When I used to do big projects, I used to do them with a girlfriend that I would do the building part, and she would do the decorative part. Worked out really well because she didn't like doing the building part. I didn't really care to do the decorating part, so it worked out perfectly for us. And she has an eye for how to do things better than I do. Oh, I like the way that's looking. Make sure you hold your stencil because I keep moving mine. I have blurry spots there. But, so yeah, just do it however you want to. I'm going to do stickers because I want to keep mine kind of flat, because I tend to set things on there. But you can do it as detailed or built up as you want to, because your stuff is really going to be put in here. So you don't have to keep it totally flat. That's just, it's easier for me to do that. And then I don't have to think as hard on what it is that I'm going to do to put on there. See? So it's like a win-win for me. Those colors are very close to the same. Or did I use the same one? No, I don't think so. And that's an awful lot of Punchinella for the background. And it's also a little bit dark. But it's okay because it's just a background. So I'll figure it out at some point in time as to exactly what I'm going to do with it. And there we go. I definitely think that's enough Punchinella. And now what I want to do is I want to edge these edges. Now, you could try spraying these. You know, it's just paper, so you could use your sprays. You can use anything you use on paper. But I do believe if you spray it, they're going to get kind of wrinkly, because that's what sprays do. And, you know, but that all depends on what kind of look you like, because actually a wrinkly look does not bother me at all. I kind of like the wrinkly looks. So, you know, it all just depends on what your tastes are. And I just want to kind of do a couple of the colors here. I think I want to do it solid brown across the bottom. And just kind of make it look a little more decorative. You're going to have stuff sticking in and out of here, so, you know, this is something that's not going to be seen that well, except for in the beginning before you start putting stuff in there. And I will tell you, these hold a lot of stuff. I've cleaned mine out a couple of times, and I can't believe, like, it's like, how in the world did I fit all of this whole pile of papers in there? But like I said, I do like putting my, you know, different things that I think I want to make, but I don't, you know, like I've got my little prototype, and I don't want to forget about it, But where am I going to put it? Because I put things down. I can't tell you how many lists that I've had that I've lost. And I constantly keep lists, but I should actually have one of these just for my lists. Might take me a while to find it with how much it holds, but at least I'd know where they were. And there we go. I think maybe I'll put a dark edge on it. Like that. And I'll do it on this side too. And I think it does need just a little bit more of the turquoisey color on it. So we'll use this one. I can use the same sponge. Well, that one doesn't have a whole lot of color in that pad. It's about gone. You can always tell what your favorite colors are by when you get a set of something, which ones run out the quickest. You'll find, except your taste will change, but you will find that no matter what your set is, if it's colored pencils, your turquoise and brown, if it's me, colored pencils will be shorter, and your turquoise and brown paints will be emptier. But like I said, then sometimes you change. Let's get a little color over here. And I think that looks good. So that is all I'm going to do to this portion. Now, you can cut yourself a half circle and put it on here. I don't like to glue the half circles right to the pages because I like those pages to be able to move. And if they're glued right on, they don't move as well. I like them to move for two reasons. Number one, if I want to put something thick in there. And number two, if I put something small in there and it has fallen down, I can go ahead and I can go through like this, and I can see if there's any little bits down in there with it. If that's glued together, I suppose you could kind of like peek at every single one, but to me that would take too long. So I don't like to glue those, but what I will do sometimes is cut a half a circle and glue it right on the edge down here, and maybe glue it to just the first couple pages here and here. But I don't glue it to the whole thing. Now that's totally up to you. If you want it to stay exactly like that, you can put a half circle on there and glue it right to the pages, and those are really going to stay pretty well like that. And most of the time, I don't even put a half circle on the side. But that's because where I set them, you don't see the sides anyways. I either set them like that, or I set them like this, which again, that is what that looks like. This part here would sit on your desk, and this part here would sit up against the wall. And you would have a Rolodex like that. And then you could put your stuff in like that, or you could put some stuff in there and then do all of those like that. So there we go. Now it's just a matter of decorating. And for me, that's the hard part. You know that. And, but I did, when I bought these, I really thought that they would be cool to put right across in front of the little... I thought this would be cool to put right here. And try and make it kind of straight. Nope. Good thing I didn't push it down hard. Need to move it over a little bit. Like that. And I think that looks pretty. I have one of my little things tipped over here. I don't know how that happened. One of the little gems, the sticky side is up. Well, okay. I can't do that right now, so I will, let's see. No, I get that later. I'll get a pair of tweezers that I can pick it up with, because I cannot pick that up today. And then just come down to this end and cut it off. Now the thing you can do when you have things like this is you can cut these individually. You can use each one of these little gems individually. Just cut them off. You can use the pearls by themselves. Just cut them off. So you don't, whenever you get something, it could be a huge big swirl thing, just cut off whatever parts you want, but keep all the rest because you can use those. Ooh, it flipped over. You can use those as bits and parts later, or even as just individual gems. So there we go. I think that that looks pretty. And then I want a butterfly on here for sure. I want to try one of these rub-ons. I haven't used rub-ons in forever, since I was little. Well, no, I shouldn't say little. I should say younger. It's been a long time. Okay, so they say what to do is they say cut off the one you want, and I want this bingo card. I even read the instructions. It says cut off the part you want. I don't want to get those buttons. There we go. Take off the back. Put it where you want it. And it is kind of sticky. And I want to put this bingo card kind of like right at an angle there. And then it says to rub it with your nail. Sorry for shaking the table. And then it says to lift it and see if it has stuck. It was kind of stuck and kind of not right there in that corner. It says to move it slowly, and if it sticks anywhere, put it back down and rub it. There we go. Hey, that's pretty awesome. I like that. That's really cool. I like that a lot. Alrighty, and I want this postcard too. So we're going to put this one on here. And I am pretty sure I'm thinking where I'm going to put this and how I want it, because I'm thinking that I do want to do this one like this. So I think what I'm going to do in the back up here, I think, is I'm going to put some butterflies up there. I'm going to put this postcard right over here. This is awesome. This is really fun. You know, I have some rub-ons. It's not like I don't have any. I just haven't used them. And then this is the first time I've seen rub-ons at the Dollar Tree. And of course, I do my videos ahead of time, so you're not going to see this video. It's going to be 4 weeks from the time that I do this video to the time that you see it. So I don't know what they'll... You know, you've probably already seen all of this stuff, but it was new to me. Of course, I haven't been to the store other than to go grocery shopping. I haven't been to the store in 3 months. So this was quite fun to go in and see the new things that they had. I like how you can see through these. You can see the punchinella behind them. Cool. I like that. This is really cool too. It's kind of like a parchment paper, or I mean a vellum paper. That's really neat. Alrighty, so we've got those on there. Oh, I was thinking this was a sticker, but it's not. But I wanted that butterfly on there too. We'll see. Let's put some butterflies on this top part here. Ooh, you know what? I like that sticker. It says life and says enjoy. When you open these little packets, if you fold over that sticky line, you won't have a problem getting your stuff out. And more importantly, you won't have a problem trying to get it back in, and it won't get stuck to that. And then you can always unstick that and fold it back up again. I've got that locked in there. Alrighty. Now I don't want lovely, but I either want life or I like enjoy. So enjoy is going to go right down. Ooh, these are really hard. These are very thick. There. And again, those are kind of see-through, so you can see the punchinella through those too. So I find that quite cool. Now, let's find a butterfly. I like this one. It's got some blue in it. I'll put that one right up there. And then I think I'm going to put life on there. Oh, I should have put life under enjoy, so it said enjoy life. But it's too late now. There we go. And then we have some numbers and we have some buttons. So, and I think that maybe I'll put a little bit of lace across here, which I didn't pull any lace out. So I think what I'm going to do is I want to randomly put maybe a couple of these numbers or buttons or both, you know, in different places on here. And I want to go grab my lace. So I'm going to grab those things and I'm going to put them on here. And then I will come back and show you what it looks like and show you what we need for next week. So I'll be right back. I am back and I have it all finished. So the way that I decorated up the top was mostly with the rub-ons. I really had fun with those. And then I kind of thought that little chain right there looked cute. And where I got that was, I was looking at the stickers and we had this heart sticker with a butterfly in the middle, and chain around the outside of the heart. And I just thought that was really cute, and it looked like it was about the right size. So I just cut part of it off and put it on there. So I just picked some numbers that meant something to me. And then on the front, I added lots of buttons to what we already had there. This is crooked, but there's nothing I can do about it now. I did try lifting and it doesn't work. I did put some lace up here. I was actually going to wrap it around the back of the book. And then I thought, that's not going to work because if I were to wrap that around, it would make my pocket so that my pocket wouldn't open up. So I did just leave it stick out just a little bit on each end. I only glued it to the page and then let it stick out to the edge of the book cover. So I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. I do think that I am going to use it on my desk like this. So, you know, when you see it from the top, it looks like that. When you see it from the front, it will look like that. But I just prefer this layout better because it doesn't take up as much room. You got to have all that room, but if you do this, then you only have to have that much room. So I do believe that that is going to be the way that I'm going to, that's the way that I'm going to use it, is like this. And one thing that I did want to mention is think about your layout, where you're going to put it, because as I did these, I already knew that I was probably going to do it this way. So all of these are right side up. And I didn't even think about this until when I was doing something down here and I had flipped my book over. If I had done this book and this was what my back was going to look like, see, look what would happen when I stood it up. Laying it down, it looks fine. You know, you can make them face that way, this way, that way, that way. It doesn't really matter depending on where you're going to put it. But if you decide that you want to make it, you know, like just a half of a Rolodex like this, make sure that whatever you put here is going to be in the right direction, because this is the top of the book then, and everything's upside down. So, I mean, I did think of that, not on purpose, but I mean, that's just because that's the way I usually like mine. I laid it out that way, but it made me think to remind you. Don't forget to put them right side up. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I really do like these, and they work really well and hold a ton of stuff. For next week, we are going to need just a couple of like the pillar candles, or whatever you call these kind of candles. You want them to be just the candle, not in glass, you know, not in a jar or anything. And you want them to be at least about this big. So we'll get a couple of those from the Dollar Tree, and then a little bit of bling that might look, you know, good with them. Bling, you know, ribbon, really ribbon is more like it. They just had some kind of blingy, you know, put on a ribbon thing here. So I got one of those too. But we're going to want a couple of ribbons that will match the candles that we have. We're also going to need some tissue paper, and we are going to need our stamps, our StazOn, and our heat gun. So that's what we'll need for next week. I hope you enjoyed this week's project. I really had fun with it. Loving the rub-ons. If you haven't tried rub-ons before, you ought to try them because they're really fun. And if you haven't tried them in a long time, try them again because I forgot how fun they are. Thanks again. I really do appreciate all of you stopping by, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.